Well, welcome everybody to this week's edition of Sports Back Talk with Boly and Ringer. And how'd we do in the last week, Mike? Did we hit all the good spots and the bad spots? I feel like when we did last week's show, we talked about the Masters, we talked about hockey, we talked about basketball. We got some of it right, we got some of it wrong.
Yeah, our thrill factor has really been going up lately. It's just like, wow, what are they going to put on next? And yeah, we got lots of stuff coming up. We got lots of stuff to talk about tonight. We got college hockey. We got Masters discussion. We'll have Twins talk. And NHL playoffs, the brackets have been set. The games are set, and we'll go over that. But again, we're at the Looney's Brew here over in Rainier, Woody's Pub. I invited a bunch of people to show up, and nice crowd. I'd say about 15, 16 people showed up, so our crowds are getting bigger. And how was your weekend?
The weekend was good. I was stunned at some of the things that happened over the weekend. But other than that, how about yours?
It was great. We did a road trip, just kind of a stir of the moment thing. Called my brother-in-law. I said, how about we meet in Grand Forks and we'll watch the North Dakota Fighting Hawks. And
it was tough to say that, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we made it on Thursday night after the win. So then we had 2 nights to get ready, and my 2 sisters and brother and all the spouses all met in Fargo along with Burke and Ashley and geez, what's the heck's his name? Ashley's boyfriend. I know, he doesn't watch the show. But anyways, we met in Fargo. We couldn't get a motel in Grand Forks.
Okay, there you go. I
was
going to say,
booked. Everything was booked. And
what was going on in Grand Forks that everything was booked?
Well, other than us, there was other people that had the same idea. Let's go to Grand Forks and be a part of the crowd, and let's be there for the North Dakota Championship game. We ended up having our own room available. They gave us a party room. We're connected right to the bar there in a motel, and then we went next door to the Green Mill and sat in there and had dinner, and it was a great weekend. Lots of fun, lots of laughter, and maybe we should stick to.
Yeah, I got to watch 0 seconds of the hockey game on Saturday night. I'll be the first to admit it right here. I did not get to watch a second of it. So the final score was 5-1.
Yeah.
What was it that dominating? I mean, that I guess that's what I was waiting for. I didn't read a lick on it. I figured I'm going to get it right from the horse's mouth.
I suppose they got. I mean, the Bulldogs get knocked out, and he doesn't care what happens.
Hoo-ha!
What happened is...
but one step further than the Friars. Go!
Yes, North Dakota was a whole different team. I don't know if anybody watched them play Denver 2 nights prior, but North Dakota didn't look good there. They lost their second-line center, Luke Johnson, in the game, and when he went down, it seemed like North Dakota's momentum and excitement kind of went down with it, and they were actually very lucky to hold on and win that game. Kajula made himself about couple million over the weekend. He's probably the most sought-after free agent. That's why sometimes it's better not to get drafted by an NHL team, because now he gets to negotiate with all 30 of them, and I would say 26 of them teams want him. But anyways, North Dakota was the much better team against Quinnipiac. They obviously busted that 1-3-1 trap that Quinnipiac likes to throw out there, and the reason they did is they got team speed. Their speed was awesome, and they got 3 really good defensemen who I'm sure Brad Berry's hoping that they all stick around. Stetcher, Poolman, and Ledoux. These guys are all bona fide NHLers, all high draft picks, so we'll see what happens with them. I did see Brock Besser did commit to at least 1 more year at North Dakota, so the phenom freshman will be there next year, and they're bringing in Mitchell Madsen from Grand Rapids. They got some other high-end recruits. Gersich looked good. He's a freshman. They had 11 freshmen on that team.
That's a scary number.
You know, it's even sadder and scary, and I'm here to take shots tonight, people. Okay, I am tired. It's been a long spring.
And you love the snow?
Yeah, and what happened is Lucia over at the University of Minnesota, and again, the Ben Gordons of the world and all you guys, I love you to death. But Lucia said his team was too young this year to compete. We have too many freshmen playing. Well,
North Dakota
had 11 freshmen. Not all of them were playing, mind you, but their goalie basically was a freshman. Besser, one of their best players, is a freshman. They had Tons of other. Gersich played well, and a bunch of role players. They're all third and fourth liners this year, but next year they're going to probably have to move up. They're only losing 2 seniors in threes, Kajula, Chizik, and Sanderson, so they're only going to lose the 3 seniors. Right now, that's all they're losing. Schmaltz, the number 8, the center iceman, I believe he'll be a junior next year. He could turn pro. As well as he's with Chicago though, so good luck. I would probably stay in college. And then the other ones are with Ledoux, Pullman, and Setcher. Okay. So they got 3 big defensemen. If they can keep 2 of them, Osmus comes back. He's their junior captain this year. So North Dakota, as they say, they reload. They'll be right back in it again next year. And congratulations to my son Burke Bolstead, who he's a North Dakota fan through and through. He graduated from there, and he's a happy guy this weekend.
Do they get a stipend, each one of the people from North Dakota that wear their Sioux jerseys, their North Dakota jerseys, wear them to other places where the Fighting Sioux aren't playing, the Fighting Hawks aren't playing? Do they get a stipend or something? Because I don't know of another hockey team, hockey fans that wear their hockey jerseys. When I was at the XL, what is that now? 3 weekends ago almost. There were like more green jerseys there than like whatever other jersey. It's just like they must get paid or something.
Yeah, they've been traveling well. It was my freshman year in college, and the Final Four was out in Providence, and both North Dakota and Wisconsin made the Final Four back in 1980, and both teams brought about 7,000 people, so the whole place was green and red, and that's when I kind of got introduced to Wisconsin and North Dakota fans. And maybe with the Granados back there at Wisconsin, they're saying now their program's going to turn around. I mean, we'll see about that. And North Dakota's not going anywhere. A well-deserved championship for North Dakota. They ended up going 34-6-4. Their best winning percentage, about 82%. Their best winning percentage since 1987, which is the year that Luke Johnson's dad, was it Greg Johnson? He was a scoring fiend.
All I remember is the Hercus Circus was that year. And that team was loaded, and Balfour might have even been on that team too. He only played 1 year, but that sounds right.
That was a great team to watch. Luke Johnson being hurt, I thought that would cost him. I'm guessing he'll be back for his senior year. He had a good second half of the year. He was very highly recruited. Kind of came in a little small, but you can see he's built out, and that's why it's good to play for North Dakota, because they seem to hold on to their players a lot longer than, say, the University of Minnesota, who high-end recruits, and they end up playing 1 or 2 years and they're gone. But the Gopher team's going to be back too as well. I had to take a little shot at Lucia though, because each team's young in their own little different way. Okay. Now Lucia has he brings in a lot more true freshmen than any other program, and he's trying to change that rule where a 21-year-old freshman's not allowed to play. They have to be 20 years when they start their freshman year, I believe, 20 or 21. But that rule's not going very far. A lot of people are pretty upset about it, but good fun. The year's over. College hockey was a good fun year. We go back, not as much coverage on up north here as far as TV. And again, that's a lot because Gophers now play a lot of their games on the Big Ten Network.
True.
And a lot of teams don't get all these ESPN astronaut channels. But overall, good weekend. Burke wore his North Dakota hat. Diana wore her North Dakota, can I say Sioux?
Sure, I said it already
North
twice.
Dakota Sioux jersey, and everybody else was all decked out except my brother Gerald, who had a Bemidji State Beaver hat on. So, of course, Brittany plays softball at Bemidji, so he has to show some lines here. We had a good time. It's always good to get with family.
Where do you want to go next?
Well, what do I got next? I do have Masters, and I'm going to start off, and you're probably going to do more. I watched maybe 1 hour.
I probably watched 10 hours. So I guess that
with this story.
I put my feet in the ground and watched a good share of Saturday and Sunday. I watched parts of it on Thursday and Friday. Really was pretty busy, but I really sat down and did my sports justice this weekend for the Masters. And of course, most everybody knows about the great debacle that Spieth pulled off yesterday. He showed that he's human, that everybody else who's ever chunked one into the water and then redid it again on the very next shot, that it even happens to the number one player in the world, even though he's not ranked number one right now. And I thought for a while that he would find a way to crawl back in and dig himself out. But it was just too much to overcome. Losing 6 shots in 3 holes was too much to overcome, and he led for 3 rounds and really 3.5 rounds. And when he got up to -7, I'm like, he's gonna get to 9 or maybe 10. And 30 minutes later, he was at -1, and it was kind of like, wow. And it was stunning just to. CBS, I don't think, knew what to do because they were already crowning him. They were sizing up the green jacket. They had their coverage plan for the next 2 hours, everything they were going to do. And when he hit it into the water twice in a row, all of a sudden they were scrambling. Well, who do we start showing now? Is it Danny Willett who ended up winning, or is it who are we going to be carrying now? Because it kind of changed things, and it just goes to show you that the Masters course, even though they can hit it a mile long. With a little wind and a little pressure, things kind of even out.
And as they say, every year they say it, and every year it comes true. At Augusta National, the tournament doesn't start till the final 9 of the last day, and nothing was more clear than this year. And I'm sitting there riding home, and I'm watching on my phone. It was 7 under Spieth and 2 under Willett. That was it. And I'm going. I kind of commented, well, this thing's over. I said he needs to get through number 12 and 13, and if he does unscathed, he'll walk in. And all of a sudden I get a text from my daughter Lexi, and she goes, "How about that Spieth?" I said, "Yes, he's Spieth-tacular." Okay, little did I know, because the phone's back about 10 minutes, that Spieth just picked up a 7 on number 12. So I had no idea. And all of a sudden I look at my phone again, and he's 1 under, and I yelled up at Burke. I said, "Gosh, I think Spieth just got a 6 or 7 on number 12." And we thought, well, maybe we should stop at a local wing company in Bemidji. But we didn't. I said I want to spend time with my family and traveling. I don't need to be spending time in a bar with strangers. And
there you go.
And we went to Jimmy John's instead and had one of their subs. God, they have good subs. Huh?
They're the best.
They are. So
they're the best.
Masters, Danny Willett. He's relatively an unknown. He's Irishman or an Englishman?
Englishman.
Nick Faldo, you could tell. I'm sure he tried to bite his tongue, but he was very.
He was like Lou Naney when he dined us in the state tournament.
Definitely homering it up a bit. Hoping this kid could bring it in, because Nick Faldo was the last Englishman to win this prestigious.
And it was 20 years. It was almost like it was karma, because they had the 20s and the 30s and the 40s all lined up on the reels and.
Was it the Greg Norman thing in '96?
'96, Greg Norman. It's just amazing how it worked 20 years later for another Englishman. And
that was another one I missed. I was actually going golfing in Missouri with Billy Walls and Jerry Shimon, and I think my brother Gerald was with us on that trip, and it was sleeting and snowing and raining at the same time, and Billy Walls is driving like 90 miles an hour, and we were listening to the Masters, and I said, "You can slow down. I'm not sure we got really good tires on this vehicle." But we made it down there and had a good time. But the Masters, it brings back lots of memories. Again, normally I watch 4 or 5 hours on Thursday, 4 or 5 Sunday, 6 on Sunday, or 6 on Sunday and 6 on Saturday. But this year, cut her back to total of 1 hour, and my life hasn't changed because I didn't watch golf. I got just as much enjoyment this weekend as anybody.
There you go. Yeah, and like I said, I was kind of watching the 8 that I picked last Monday, and they were kind of sitting there, and I thought, well, I'm going to have it, and then Danny Willett had to come along and screw it up.
And Danny Willett in the local pool, 2 people were pretty happy about the Willett win. My nephew Nick Ruport, and a person who owns this Quarters Amico. Both of them won a fictitious, non-related money game, and both of them picked Willett to win, and they were both pretty happy. Not because
I'm surprised that somebody would pick Danny Willett.
I'm surprised my nephew Nick. The reason he did, Nick's a pastor, and the guy, I guess he's son of a preacher, and Nick picked him because of that. So I need to get more religion in my life.
So you get your picks right.
So I can pick the right people. But that's another thing. I didn't even get in that pool this year. And I'm changing my personality and my lifestyle, and all for the better, Ringer.
That's right. That's all we can do. Keep trying to get better each and every day.
Yes.
Where are we going next?
Well, one last thing I'll mention about it. Willett is going to be playing on the Euro team for the Ryder Cup, which is coming September 30th, October 1st, and October 2nd.
Did you get tickets?
At Hazeltine, I do have tickets.
I didn't get picked, and I am ticked.
Going, and I'm going to enjoy it and have a good time. The problem with watching something like that, which will be different than watching other tournaments I've watched as far as pros go, and is there's Thursday and Friday, there's 8 matches both days, but there's only 4 groups of 2 on the course at one time. So you could be sitting at a place waiting for these golfers to show up, or you could walk around and travel in a cluster of 40,000 people trying to get close enough to see exactly what happened. So it's going to be kind of tough. I'm guessing there's some strategy to it. Maybe I'll get there a day early and then ask some Euros on how they watch it, because they seem to win every year, and they'll probably know where to go and how to go to a Ryder Cup tournament.
Well, and I know I watched the PGA there in 09, and I was there for the amateur, I think about 3 years before that. So I'm a very aware of Hazeltine, and there are ways to fight the course a little bit to give yourself the most advantageous route. So
we watched the par 3. I think it was hole number 4 or 5. Me and Diana, we sat there for like 5 hours. Had a good time. Watch everybody come through.
That's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. We know. So what are we? Let's go. We got baseball, the Twins, or we can go NHL, or
let's get the Twins out of the way, because we might as well finish on something a little more positive, because the Twins dropped to 0-7. This is Monday that we're taping this.
Update, because I have 0-6 on my piece of paper.
Well, they went 0-7 as they lost 4-1 today, and it seems as when the Twins over the last week have put enough runs together to win, the bullpen has messed it up, and it seems like when they don't score enough runs, the bullpen still screws it up. So it hasn't been good for me.
Scored enough runs.
Well,
they haven't got more than 3 runs in a game.
They scored 4, didn't they, against Kansas City?
When?
The first night, didn't they score 4, or was it only 3?
3.
Okay.
I might be wrong. I've been wrong a few times today.
I was thinking that they had scored 4 runs in one of the games, and then they dropped the ball.
But maybe they did. But they're getting 1 run. They're getting 2 runs. They're getting 3 at the most. I mean, every game. And the pitching hasn't been totally too bad. It bothers me today. I mean, you got Gibson out there, and he tries to nickel and dime and pick spots. We have no pitchers that can overpower anybody, that has super end stuff. We don't have that stopper out there that's going to stop a losing streak. I mean, this thing could go 20, 30 games, Ringer.
Well, and
the bats aren't there.
And Gibson, I agree. He's a control pitcher. He's supposed to do whatever.
A possession wide receiver.
Hey, I like that analogy. It's something to me that, you're trying to be too fine today. What May comes out of the bullpen, the first thing he does, he walks somebody. It's like, for heaven's sakes, you just came out of the bullpen, you just warmed up, you're going to have a tough time finding the strike zone. I mean, where are we at? So he gives up a walk, and then they give up a triple or a double, and of course the run scores, and you're only down 3-1, now it's 4-1, and you take the air out of it, and supposedly it was a sellout today at Target Field. There are a lot of empty seats when I was watching, so I guess when when you have season tickets right behind third base or first base or whatever, and it's only 42 degrees or whatever, you just suck it up and go on. But supposedly it was a sellout, and I know last year I've been trying to be the ray of sunshine in this, for lack of a better term. They were 1-6 last year when they came home. And still made a run at the playoffs. I know they're 0-7. We can't throw them out the door yet, but I feel a Minnesota Wild season coming where we're going to be sitting here in September, and they're just going to be doing enough to keep us on the edge of our seat, and then what are they going to do? Are they going to yank the chain, the rug out from underneath us? Because last week you said 80-some wins, I said 80-some wins. And right now,
they're trending to 0.
They're trending to 0.
Here's the deal. We can sit here and sure. I mean, they got booed by their fans starting in the 6th inning on their home opener. Nobody boos at home opener. For a reason being, there's lots of kids, a lot of traditional families get together and go to home openers, and it's all family oriented. I think the families are mad. Little Johnny there is up 7 years old, and his heroes are like Sano and all these other minor leaguers that are playing baseball up with the Minnesota Twins. That's what I think is the biggest issue. These kids are overhyped. Buxton, he's been, well, talked about this the other day. He's been the top prospect for the last 4 years. What has he done? He hasn't done anything. But he keeps getting these accolades, and he's reading these accolades, and eventually he's got to start doing something. I mean, there's Bryce Harper's, there's Mike Trout, there's all these other players that started playing when they're 18, and they're not having issues. How about this Story kid? Plays out in Colorado. He's a nice shortstop. He's got 7 home runs. Okay.
When's he going to wake up?
Look at these batting averages. Going into today, Dozier 182. Buxton and Sano 158. Poof 150. Park 167. They have 72 strikeouts in 6 games. That's 12 strikeouts a game by my math. Park, Buxton, Sano, all these phenoms. These are the guys. We brought in Park from one of the Koreas, and he's got 11 strikeouts. Buxton struck out 11, and Sano's got 11. You know, good numbers if you're in Vegas. Okay, but you're not in Vegas. You're in the Twin Cities. This is ridiculous. And Jack Morris, you can see him just getting mad and mad and mad. But he's employed by the Minnesota Twins. So even though he's been a little hard on him, he's got to keep his cues in order, because he doesn't want the Minnesota brass to get mad. And I got a text from my nephew today. You know, he said, Uncle Mike, we can sit there and blame the players all we want, but. You know, Terry Ryan wrong with that, who's the guy, Billy Smith, or that guy who took over for a couple of years. That's where our problem is they've brought in the wrong players. I mean, it's tough to get innings going and tough to get big innings going and get out of slumps when your guys are striking out. Okay, put the ball in play. And there's got to be some changes. I bring this Kepler up. I know he's up right now. Let Arcia play. Let some veterans get out there and do what you want with the kids. But they're not ready. They definitely aren't ready. And then our bullpen. I mean, Jepson and Perkins, who we thought were pretty good. Well, you had some questions on Perkins, but they've both blown a save. And May looks lost out there, and he'll pitch really good for 2 guys, and then all of a sudden he can't get the third out. They have a problem getting the third out. And the Twins today got guys on second and third again, and Park pops one out to the catcher, then another guy strikes out. And
well, I thought it was interesting the one time they got Mauer to third base today, and they hit a fly ball to right field or
standing ovation.
No, to center field, and
he didn't go. Yeah,
he didn't go. He didn't go try to score on the throw. And so Blyleven and Bremer are trying to tell us over the air that the coach at third base, and I can't think of his name right now, didn't send him because the center fielder had such a good setup that he didn't dare run. And I'm like, wait a minute now. We're in Game 7 of the season of 162. Are we not sending the guy home from third base because it's Joe Mauer and he's not going to give it, we don't want to get him hurt, or because we don't want to take a chance to cut the 3-1 lead to 3-2 with a guy at third base on a sacrifice fly? To me, it's we need to be sending that guy. I want to see the guy make a throw.
Well, great point.
I mean, he's 200 and how many feet? 300 feet away from home plate, and we're not going to test his arm out? That's crap.
And Jack Morris brought it up later after the post game, and he said, you're scoring 1 or 2 runs a game. Send them.
Send them.
Okay, so what? We're still at 1 run. We've been at 1 run for 7 games. See if we can get that guy lucky. And I saw the throw come in. It basically hit second base on the fly.
Yep.
I mean, he did who's that old left-handed Jock Jones? Remember when he used to throw it in from outfield and it would hit about halfway there, and that's what the throw was. And again, I shame on that third base coach. I mean, come on, how do you get a third base coaching job for a profession?
You're supposed to be learning how to be the manager. That's why you're there. You're the next guy in line to get a job, I believe.
Okay, the last one I think that moved from third base coach to manager was Cal Ripken Jr. I don't think I haven't logged it or anything, but
Gardenhire was a third base coach for many years for the Twins.
Okay, so basically,
yeah, but you kind of go to be a third base coach, and then that means that you're ready to go take somebody else's, go be a manager someplace else. A lot of these managers have been that way.
It's another recycled sport. They just keep hiring their own.
Hockey, big vicious circle around and around.
Just like hockey, just like bat. They're all recycled.
That way.
But Twins, I don't know where they're going to go from here. They don't play again till Wednesday. Molitor's, I mean, he's been patient. I'll give him that. He's saying the right things.
I'm going to go back. You talked about these young guys not being ready. I think they're going to continue to play these young guys. I think that they are going to ride the wave, and if it means winning 52 games, I think they're going to leave Sano and Buxton and all these guys in the lineup till at least the 1st of June. They've got to do this. I just see Aaron Hicks, I guess, who they traded to the Twins for the catcher, John Ryan Murphy or whatever it is. I'd hate to see Byron Buxton be that again, because we've been down this road before. The Denard Span, we've always had these outfielders that are going to be the next Kirby Puckett or Torrey Hunter, whoever. And of course, that's what you hope them to be, and you draft them that way, and you're hoping that's what's going to happen. But it's the run output is dismal, and the pitching has been.
Pitching hasn't been bad. I mean,
pitching hasn't been horrible, but
I thought there was a typo when I saw he only gave up 1 run in 7 innings. I go, good for him, I guess. And
against the Kansas City Royals, against the World Series, the champs.
They should have won 2 of those games.
Yep.
They had it to the bullpen in both those games. And if Kansas City has it in their bullpen, the game is over.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Not so much with the Twins again this year. The good news, and I told my buddies this today, is by June, when I start taking my yearly trips down to the big city, tickets should be very inexpensive. I'm talking maybe $5 street value, so I'll be getting into them Twins games at a pretty good market price.
There you go. Where are we going next?
NHL playoffs. I know you're going to want to get into your Hall of Fame stuff, so we'll do that last. But NHL playoffs over in the West, we got Dallas versus the Minnesota Wild. They will start on Thursday night. We'll talk a little bit about them after we're done with. I'll give the pairings, and then we got St. Louis against Chicago, and that should be a good 2-3 seed over there in the West, also out of the Central. So who else is over in the West?
That's the best series of all 8 of them, as far as I'm concerned. St. Louis versus Chicago, Anaheim versus number 4 there, Nashville, and number 2 the LA Kings against the San Jose Sharks, the 2-3 out of the Pacific Division. And
that one is also Thursday. St. Louis, Chicago, they'll play Wednesday night. And Friday will be the first game, Anaheim and Nashville. They won't play a game till Friday.
Wow.
They're the last ones to get their last game. Let's go to the East real quick.
Washington versus Philadelphia on the top of the bracket there. Of course, Washington, the President's Cup, they still call it that, right? The President's Cup winner this year. They get Philadelphia, and I was watching PTI or something this afternoon, and they were talking that maybe Philadelphia, with their owner Snyder passing away today, that maybe they could use that as a rallying point to try to take down the number 1 seed Washington. I don't see it happening.
Philly has been playing well of late. They work their butts off to get in the playoffs. Sometimes that momentum can carry you once the playoffs start. And if you steal one on the road right away in the NHL playoffs, which happens quite frequently, you'll steal one on the road, and all of a sudden you got the series in your favor.
Pittsburgh and the Rangers in the other series, that ought to be a dandy. Pittsburgh, talking about teams that have been playing well recently. The Penguins would be classified, I think, in that part of it. What about the other part of the bracket?
Then we got Tampa Bay and Detroit. Both teams kind of skidding, as they say. Stamkos being lost to an injury, blood clot. It seems like blood clots are becoming a kind of a norm for professional athletes. So it's a real dangerous thing, too. And Stamkos has to take care of that, and he'll be back next year. Unfortunately for Tampa, he's an unrestricted free agent, so when starting July 1st, he can sign with any team in the NHL. Then we got one more.
We got Florida and the Islanders, and Florida the number 1 seed. I have to say I was a little surprised that they were number 1 seed. So they got the... so I actually went on to NHL.com. I got into a bracket to pick the winners. You also had to pick the number of games. So, So when are you going to get your life back, really?
What life?
Whether I have a life to get back?
Joining NHL pools on the NHL network?
Well, hey, you got to do what you can do to jazz it up a little bit.
Yeah, so, at least you got something
So I got Dallas and Chicago coming out. Dallas in 5, Chicago in 6.
You're sticking to the 5 over Mini.
Yeah, in there. And so then Anaheim, I got taking down Nashville. And I got the San Jose Sharks taking down the Kings in 7. low 2-3 upset. Washington going to take on the Pittsburgh Penguins on the other side, and then I got an all Florida. Florida and Tampa.
That'll be fun.
That would be interesting.
Probably won't watch any of it, but
so I got Washington and Tampa into the Eastern Conference Finals. I got Chicago and Anaheim into the Western Conference Finals. I got Chicago and the Capitals into the Stanley Cup Finals. And Ovechkin finally breaks through and he wins it all.
Chicago
from the West.
You don't see the oil leaking from that team? I mean, they have some issues. They got.
They had the. I thought they had the oil leaking
a lot
last
of
year.
injuries. Holsa's back now. Shaw's back. Crawford looks like he's ready to go.
They've been resting.
So I reading Lazarus today and Tracy Myers out of Chicago. This is the first time this team's been healthy for a long time, and they do have Taves and Kane. Ladd should help them on that line with Taves and let the brouhahas begin, intimidating. You guys are going to love this Antoine Roussel, who plays for Dallas. By game 2, you people out there cheering for the Minnesota Wild are absolutely going to hate this guy. Okay, remember Steve Ott last year? Okay, multiply Steve Ott by 3. Okay, he'll get in everybody's faces. He'll check everybody late. He'll hit people late. He'll give Parisi shots to the head, and he'll just be an instigator, problem causer. And
we ain't going to have anybody that are going to fight back.
Anybody
that's going to do anything about it. So you got to hope that the referees step in and call some of it, right? I mean, if you're a Wild fan, that's what you got to be hoping for.
Well, if they're the same referees that have been ref in the NHL for the last 20 years, nothing will change.
Yeah, once the playoffs start.
They'll let a lot of what they do is they'll call the hooking and that stuff, but they'll let cross-checking. One of the most flagrant, dangerous plays, they'll let guys come up from behind. You'll watch it all the time, mostly defensemen. They'll just keep digging and giving jaws shots right back here. And a lot of players now wear equipment back here. Little pads, Parisi I know does, and that's because people like Mark Stewart out of Winnipeg, Roussel from Dallas. There's a bunch of these guys who just go out there and try to cause problems. Chicago, St. Louis.
Got to be
that going to be a good one.
It's going to be a dandy. Got to be probably more worth watching than like I said. It's the series of the 8 to watch. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, congratulations, St. Louis. You're the second best team in the West, and you get to play the Blackhawks to start out the season. Duncan Keith will miss that first game. The series home ice advantage is St. Louis, but remember they've been knocked out, I think, 4 out of the last 5 years as the number 1 or 2 seed in the West. So they have that monkey on their back, and there's not a tougher team to get rid of traditional losses than Chicago. So there's 3 series I'm going to keep particular close attention to. Of course, the Wild, Dallas, Chicago, St. Louis, and over in the East, I like the Pittsburgh Ranger series.
Should be dandies.
That should be really good. Who's going to be on Crosby? Malkin, is he going to make it back for the playoffs? He's been out, and some local flair to that. Matt Cullen, Dad Terry and Tim, graduates of 1969, and of course their Uncle Junior, who's the Border Bar phenom. He's a dancing machine over there at the Border Bar on Sunday nights, and Junior does give autographs while dancing. He's a multi-talented athlete, and he'll even make autographs while he's dancing. He's that good.
Wow.
And he's got that new 4x4 he won out at the fishing derby too. So Junior's had a good year. But Matt Cullen, a heck of a player. He's 39 years old and scored a career high or best year he's had in like 15 years, 16 goals this year.
Wow.
So, had a good year. So I am going to go the finals. I don't have Washington making. I got Pittsburgh. I really like how they're playing if Malkin gets back. There seems to be more chemistry on that team, more so than other years. The team's getting along.
Well, you go back to Christmas time or before Christmas time, they were what's wrong with this team? But they finally brought it together.
And Crosby was he's putting up Koivu-like numbers. I mean, he was.
There's another good analogy. He's on top of his ball game.
He was having a bad year, and boy, since the holidays, he just picked up his game. And I like Pittsburgh coming out of the East. And out West, I have Anaheim. I think the tough series they're going to have there is Nashville could be a tough out. They got good defensemen with Yossi and Weber and all them guys. And of course, Johansson, their big trade. He better score some goals now because he's another guy who's unrestricted, I believe. Not this year, but the following year. But anyways, I like Anaheim against Pittsburgh. And my Stanley Cup playoff winner will be, I got to stay out west, Anaheim. There we go. Anaheim Ducks are going to win the Stanley Cup 2016. So we'll kind of give updates as we go here. This is about what, our 9th show, Ringer?
Oh, it's at least that many.
I mean, it seems such a short time. I mean, this has been a blast, and it's a lot of fun coming here on Mondays. We got a home now out here at Looney's Brew, getting lots of feedback from the audience. Yeah. I mean, things are happening, and. What do you think? I'm pretty happy with the show.
Yeah, things are going well. It seems like no matter where I seem to go in town, somebody says to me that they just got done watching the show or they watched the show, and so we appreciate that. I kind of ask them, why are you watching? What is the draw? Are you waiting for us to screw up? What is the draw? And they said, no, we like listening to what you guys talk about. So I guess we'll keep doing it for a little while.
People like sports in general. Maybe we'll have a music night and. Yes, sir. Paul.
Yeah, when you talked about Minnesota, they got a young team.
Yes, sir.
But isn't there advantage to having a young team that they can bond together and come together and then they'll...
Like having 11 freshmen.
Yeah, so what's the youngest, best, furthest that they've gone for a young team?
Ringer?
I go back, the big thing I remember going back all the way to the 80s, I think about the 84 team. They came up with all these young guys, Herbeck and Gaetti and Bernansky, and all these guys came up and they kept just fighting through. 82, 83, they kept whatever. And 84, they finally kind of just kept going with them after losing 100 games for how many years. They just kept going, and then 84, they made a run, and they fell on their faces right at the end. And they kind of stumbled through 85 and 86, and then, they didn't have the greatest year in 87. As I remember, they only won 85 games, but it was enough to win the American League West, and they went on to win the series in 87. And so I kind of, I think the Twins organization has this eternal flame for that idea. We're going to build it from the ground up. We're not going to bring in these guys. We're going to build these young guys, and we're going to take our lumps for a few years, and then we're going to make a run at it, and then it'll all fall apart. And I just think we keep trying to recycle that chemistry, and that worked in the 80s. I don't know if it's going to work in the 2010s.
Well, and kind of a related thing, if you remember I believe it was 83 or 84, the North Stars made a run there with Dino Ciccarelli, Neil Broughton, Tommy McCarthy, Brian Bellows, Brad Palmer,
Was
Steve
Willie Klett on that team?
No, Willie wasn't
Willie
there
till
yet.
later?
He was on the later team, the 91 team that made a run. But this team was loaded with youngsters. Ciccarelli had a pipe in his leg, and he went undrafted. He was a scoring phenom in juniors out of Sarnia, and he played for Sarnia, and Lou Nanne brought him in as a free agent. He scored like 15 goals in that playoff run, and Dino was always a fan favorite. They had the dinosaurs up there in the crowd, and that team made a big run. I believe they made the Stanley Cup Finals against
the Islanders.
Brian Trottier and Bossy, and then put them to sleep. But that was a fun run, and then if you remember the Wild, they probably jumped up too early. Jacques Lemaire had those guys overachieving. I believe it was 2007, 2008, made the conference finals against Anaheim with the Wes Walls and the Marion Gaboricks and Andrew Burnett. And they knocked out Patrick Waugh and the Colorado Avalanche. They knocked out Vancouver. Both those series, they were down 3-1. They came back and won both series 4-3, and made the conference finals against Anaheim. And they ran into that J.S. Jaguar, and he shut them out, and that was the best last good run. They have won the last 2 years, first round of the playoffs. They beat Colorado, who was the number one seed at the time, and last year they beat St. Louis, who was the number one seed at the time. Who's the number one seed this year, Paul?
I couldn't tell you.
The Dallas Stars, who they play the first round. So is it going to be 3 years in a row where they can somehow come up with a magic formula? Playoff hockey is a different breed. Certain players show up at that time, which is, to me, that's the type of player I like on my team. The guys I worry about are the ones that disappear during these games. And the last couple of years, Granlund's played well, and Coyle, this could be his breakout year. Now Parise's hurt, Hall is hurt. They're both questionable to play on Thursday night, so we'll see. I mean, without Parise and Hall, I mean, this could be four, and Katie by the door, they're done. But as long as you got a good goalie and a good system, I still don't know, though, that Torch knows his players well enough and knows the system that these players what they have to do to win. Yo knew what to do. He knew where to put the guys. He knew the forecheck. He knew the neutral zone. He knew how to make this team win. The players quit listening to what he was saying, okay, and that's why they brought in Torch. Now, whether Torch can put together a game plan like Yo, that's still unknown, because Yo's done a good job putting those teams together the last 2 years. At least won a first-round game, and we shall see. But good question. Hopefully, we answered it.
No, yeah.
All right. What else?
Timberwolves 3-game winning streak. I know you don't want to talk about the NBA, but the season's coming to an end.
That's the only team in Minnesota that's had a 3-game winning streak.
3-game winning streak, and maybe the surprise we talked about last week. We said the Golden State Warriors trying for 73 wins, and we guaranteed that they were going to beat the Timberwolves, and they would split with San Antonio and probably beat Memphis twice. Well, the Timberwolves pulled one off last Tuesday night, late into the night out in Golden State to knock them off and put all their 73 wins in jeopardy. They now sit at 72. They have tied the Bulls. They've got one game left on Wednesday night. They got to finish the deal. They can't get this close and not do it. You may never ever you might not ever get this ever again. They've got to go for it.
And they're not going to rest any players now. I mean, I'm sure the coach kind of wanted to going into this if they would have already had the record. Unfortunately, the Timberwolves put a little damper on that, so good for them. Timberwolves, by the way, were getting beat by 20 when I left the house tonight, so I was watching it.
Okay. They were playing, I can't even think who the heck they're playing.
Houston,
that is correct.
Who's the lefty?
And Houston was looking to, still trying to make the playoffs. So.
But anyways, I got North Dakota right this year. I picked them from the beginning. You had Boston College winning, but however, you had Villanova right, and I had North Carolina wrong. So you and I are even.
We're even. That's good. A couple other notes, if I might.
Let's bring up the Hall of Fame again. It's a big event, big evening Saturday night.
Saturday evening.
Kevin Constantine, the Brandy Griffith Airholtz. We got
Mike Manassa.
We got the defenseman, what's his name?
Bob Rompre,
heck of a player. I'm so glad he got in. He well deserved. And then a team, 65?
66.
Okay, the 64. Can I talk a little bit about the 65, 66?
65 team went in a few years ago, 66 team going in. I'd love to hear a battle, a story about this.
Well, it's a true story, and I don't mean to get this guy.
You're not going to embellish it?
No, okay. It's a true story because my dear friend and confidant, Michael Peterson, who of course is battling dementia right now. God bless you, Michael. And I've been heavily involved in that. And I talked to Mike the last time when Neil Shee got in. I was there and I had a good time. But anyways, I went over to Michael Peterson. I said, Michael, and I need to ask you a question. He said, what do you got? Mike was way better then than he is now, but he was still, battling. It's hard for me to, it's tough. But I asked him what team was better, the 65 team or 66 team. Okay, I put him on the spot, but that's what I like doing, and he didn't hesitate. Okay, he said
66, right?
And you're always going to say your senior year because that's more probably, if you're a senior on a 66 team, I'm sure Michael was more, when you had Fitchuk and Bolin and them guys that were on the 65 team, those guys left. So Michael's, I'm sure playing time increased, and of course that was Sheehy and Malley, and the juniors all came back. So that would have been Timmy Sheehy's senior year. And Michael told me the 66 team was better. He said, but it was very, very close. Yeah, so both teams are well deserved.
Very well deserving, and of course, some people have said the 66 team was better. You go look at their goal differential and the games that they played. Pretty much the similar competition. The winning margin was greater in the year of 66, and again, both very deserving, and going to be a great weekend. We'll have them on Coach's Corner. We'll get a little preview of what's going to happen on Saturday night, as we'll talk to a few people there Saturday morning, and I look forward to getting a chance to meet everybody. I know a couple of people, but Kevin Constantine will not be able to make it into town. His team, his Everett Silvertips team, Everett Silvertips out in the Western Hockey League, they came up with a 4-0 series win in the first round, and they've split with Seattle. in their first 2 games of the second round. And with that news, he will definitely be unable because they don't play their 5th game until Sunday night.
Is someone going to step in for him?
Somebody, he thinks one of his sisters, or he's going to film an acceptance speech for us. I've given him the option to do it whichever way he wants to do it. And I prefer, personally, myself, I'd like to see him videotape something so we get a face and him doing it. But if he doesn't feel comfortable doing that, we'll get somebody else.
I was actually going to ask you about Kevin, and I would have came down on Saturday, and we could have done our show right from Leonard's, of course, with their approval, and we could have ran a show right from there. But I don't know, you're probably going to be too busy or a lot of other things going on. I'd still be willing to do it if you want to do something like that.
We can think about that. We can discuss it. We'll put our heads together and see what we come up with.
Yeah, because heck, it's a pretty big deal, and sometimes I make a little more light of it. You do such an amazing job, and you're right there on the front rows. And of course, as the picks continue to get tougher for you guys, the thing is, you got the back to do it. How do I say it? I still think the picks are going to get tougher as we go. Okay, and don't you agree? Okay.
I agree.
And the idea, though, is to put as many as we can in there and have a nice weekend at the same time and bring economic development back to International Falls, because it is a nice weekend to make some money. And everybody that's getting put in this weekend, very well deserved. I know probably most of them on the 66 team. Manassa, I know him well. I don't know Brandy. I don't know Bob Rompre. I have only stories about him. And who's the other?
Constantine.
Of course, I know Kevin.
You know Kevin.
I got lots of really good stories.
You got a lot of good stories.
Talk about that.
I will say this, $25 per ticket again. If you're going to go, we'd have to buy the tickets pre-advanced. We have to have a number of meals set. So if you're thinking about doing that, you still can pick up your tickets prior to Friday about noon if you want to do that. I will say this, as long as we're talking about it, we're looking for more nominees. I was just going through as things have become busier with this. I've been thinking about there's a lot of people out there that still need to be nominated, and you can find that online. And you actually have a Facebook page now for the Bronco Athletic Hall of Fame, so you can go on there, and we'd really like to see more nominees. We've got a list of about 50, but I think there's some people out there, like I said, that have been going through my mind that are very well deserving of being nominated, and I think if they got nominated, would have a very good chance of being inducted next spring. So.
Gary Sampson, Bob Mason.
Hint, hint, hint. There's many hockey players out there that are very well deserving. I do want to throw out Thursday. Could be a big day at the FHS high school area, sports area, as the track team. I just talked to head girls track and field coach Jen Erickson. The track meet is definitely going on Thursday.
Cool.
No matter what, that has been decided. Could be home baseball and also could be home softball on Thursday. So get out and get the spring sports underway. I'm kind of excited. It's been kind of a lull, and I kind of...
You need something.
Well, I don't know if I need something, but I need a fix, I guess, is what I'm trying. I need a fix. So I need something there.
A little strung out.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out, and some people might think I'm crazy, to USA Curling. The World Championships were held this past week over in Switzerland, and ended up taking 3rd place, did John Schuster. And I think with some seasoning and moving Tyler George to the skip, I think the USA could make a run at Canada and possibly sit there playing for the World Championship. They had to come through some adversity over the week. It's always tough when you play 11 round robin games that you're going to go 11-0. You're going to have bad matches during the week, but they made it to the playoffs. So congratulations to them. I didn't get to watch as much as I would have liked to, but I got to watch some of it, and Canada ended up winning the championship, their first time that they've won in 4 years, which is the longest they've ever gone without winning a world championship. So they're back on task. Seemed like there was something else that had came up in my mind, but I think that's it.
Well, and another way, I mean, it's been a tough couple of years, and this is happening because I'm 55 now. We're all getting older, and Bobby and Billy Mason on with Jim Mason and Nancy Emhoff lost their dad Don. Big fan of mine. Just a great parent. I wish parents of today could watch him be a parent. Just a class guy, understood, got it, let his kids play, kept out of it. Don Mason, again, just a great person, and I got a kick out of reading or hearing on the radio that Don liked to follow Riley's Sporting Goods Fast Pitch, and of course I was on that team, and that was a good time. But Bob and Bill and Jim and Nancy, my thoughts are with you guys. And of course Pam, Mother Pam. So, anything else?
I think that about does it.
Yeah, any other questions from the crowd?
What was the best golf shot made this year?
This year or during the Masters this year?
I'm thinking like your tin cup. They go for it, go
tin
for it, and they blow it away. But just like something that goes for it.
I don't know if I'm going to go with somebody who went for it, but I will say the 3 hole-in-ones on 16 on Sunday. I know they set the hole up in a pretty advantageous spot, but I thought the shot that Oosthuizen hit when he hit, and I can't remember whose ball it hit, it's sitting in the way and it rolls down the hill and it hits and they almost both go in the hole. One does go in the hole. Oosthuizen's goes in the hole. That isn't necessarily going for it, but that was the third of 3 hole-in-ones within a matter of about an hour. And when that first ball, when Oosthuizen's ball hit the other one, and it looked like they were both going in, and the other one broke away, I thought, well, we're going to have 2 hole-in-ones on the same thing. That'd have been pretty cool.
Yeah, and Paul, I really haven't watched a lot of golf, and I'm just trying to think of over the weekend if anything stood out. But again, I only saw an hour, so yeah. I like that par 3 tournament. There's some pretty cool things going on there, and some hole-in-ones also in that thing. But Masters always a good weekend. But great question again. I'm sorry I can't help you on that because I haven't watched too much golf.
All right, one more.
All right, one more. Geez, so how many have we got?
We're talking about coming from third base to coach.
Mm-hmm.
So where does the first base go?
Wow.
Ringer?
I'm going to say that first base usually goes to third base. That's kind of working your way up usually is how kind of the things progress. I won't say that always works. A lot of times the first base guy, he's kind of maybe resigned himself to the fact that doesn't maybe want to be a manager.
Is that where Terwilliger was?
Yeah, Terwilliger was there.
White?
Twiggy was there for about 50 years, and a lot of those guys I think are the they have a lot to offer, but they don't want to be in charge. They're those kind of guys. That's kind of how I look at them. They love to be there. They're there early. They stay late. They love the game, but they don't want to be the guy that has to go talk to the press and say, "Well, I did this way." He's in the guy's ear giving me advice. He's a great assistant coach, but doesn't have the desire necessarily always to be the top man. So you don't see a lot of first base coaches become managers. That they kind of usually get with an organization and they kind of hang on. Yeah. And every manager that kind of comes in just keeps those guys there and keeps them a part of the program.
Good answer. I'm glad he answered that because I don't know where I would have went. I'm sure it would have been pretty stupid. But next week, not really sure. We've got
we'll hopefully be talking about the playoffs again. We'll maybe hopefully talking about the Twins being on a 6-game winning streak.
Yeah, we'll maybe keep it a brief show, kind of keep it under a half hour. 2 weeks from today, though, my biggest day of my year, we'll have the NFL draft show. That'll be about a 50-minute show just on the NFL draft, and we'll go over the first 10 or 12 picks, some sleeper picks, and who the Vikings are probably going to take at number 24? 23,
I believe.
And I'm going to try to maybe get a guest or 2 for that, and we'll bring them in. Of course, maybe one at a time, but just bring in some people that want to talk NFL draft, and it's Mel Kiper's my goal. I don't know if I can get Mel in, but we'll see what happens.
If we get Mel Kiper here, I can say we're going to have him sitting out on the veranda.
You're not a Kiper?
No, he'll bring the crowd in. They'll want to come see the wind tunnel tested hairdo.
Oh man, the Donald Trump thing. Anyways, that's another show. Great show again, Ringer. Thanks for watching.